Let's get into the GLHF and looking at the gods. We have double Zeus and Thor from Count von Count. So Count von Count is actually sticking with Thor, but yeah, it's not like actually Zeus is Count's main. He's actually originally Thor. He has already written some pretty well regarded strategy guides for how to play Thor. So he's probably one of the players you actually have watched on recorded games as to how to play Thor in the past. And well, looking at the other gods, did they switch? No, they didn't. Deities of Death are sticking with the Loki and double Isis. So double Zeus and Thor against double Isis and Loki. That's actually interesting clash of different mindsets. And I would be expecting this would be kind of boom fest from both of these teams. But since actually ISIS needs to develop into the middle sooner rather than later because of the gold being in the middle of the map on Anatolia, of course, I'm kinda interested if those faster heroics from them are going to be countered by, somehow by JSS, or if JSS just turtle and boom a bit harder than them. But well, let's see, that's going to be something that they need to worry about. At any rate, we can see that Chef is spawned on the left. So far he's alone, and it seems like that actually Temista is going to the right side, going to be helping the Thor, which is, I think, pretty understandable, because Thor will be at disadvantage against Zeus in the water battle, or disadvantage. It's better when you have Zeus support than fighting without it, of course. And having like double Zeus on one side would be kind of overdoing it, so let's see if that's going to be working out for them. At the same time, we have to see that Magic is on the left spawning, and he will be helped by Killer Boy, so that's going to be interesting, 2 versus 1 on both sides, and I'm kind of more favoring actually this side Chef to not lose. I'm not going to say to win, because Eggy will spam dogs exactly like this, and that's quite deadly on Anatolia, and that's going to be making it very hard for Chef to somehow conquer the water. But at the same time, it also means, or rather at the same time, it also means that Zeus is pretty strong on water, and it will be hard for them to win his part of the water as well. So I would be expecting some skirmishes, and then maybe some push in the heroic age, but before that, probably nothing major. On the right side though, this spam of the dogs by Fox is probably not going to be enough against a double. So yeah, this is a chance for JSS to actually take the water, but yeah, let's see if that's going to develop, because yet again, the spam of the dogs is always quite nice and useful, and will be making quite a lot of difference in the game overall. So Fox has gone for the bars. Did he go for something extra? No, he didn't, so he's going for pretty much the standard build order, not anything out of the usual. So that's just a standard home map for them. Whereas, otherwise, not much else going on for Killer Boy, who is going for the standard goats. But he doesn't have anything else, just one goat on the right. He could be sending it all together in. Probably not even aware of her. And he is, well, that's kind of curious, because he's going to be running out of the goat reasonably soon. The second one is not really all that big. You can see those 4 villagers will take care of her reasonably soon, whereas those 3, oh yeah, already finally moving in, as he is recognizing that that is going to be needed sooner rather than later. He was probably just consumed by trying to control the water in here. Having already 2 dogs, that's kind of fast. That's really unexpectedly fast, to be honest. That usually you don't see that by something non-eggy to have dogs so fast, so that's probably something different from them. And he won't be advancing all that soon, I would be expecting. And it's going to be slightly slower advance from him. So let's see if maybe that will be something that Chef will be able to take advantage of. We are at 330, so temple is already being built. Interestingly close to water. Too close to water, to be honest. Looking at how we should be expecting some faster heroic from an Isis. Is probably going to lose this temple, but at the same time it shouldn't really matter all that much. And in the pocket, Temista is already waiting for the advance, probably going to be just after this villager, I would be expecting. Yeah, see, nothing else, so that's going to be just the deployment of Willis in. Yeah, right about now, and he is going to be advancing through Hermes. And it's going to be Hermes, which is understandable choice, because you don't really need restoration on Anatolia. The water battles are not all that big, and the ceasefire is just much more useful, especially when you can potentially underworld passage behind your opponent, steal the TC, and some shenanigans like that. 20% building pierce attack. Oh, that's absolutely great for an Eggy, isn't it? That's going to work wonders for them, and that's absolutely brutal and really unfortunate for their opponents, JSS, because obviously 20% better attack of Migdals and towers. Yeah, you can kinda guess where this is going to go for the Egyptians. Foot trickle, nice and useful. Other relics somewhere in here. That's a better LS and range for Archer Ballista, Carrier Ballista. Potentially useful, not that bad. For some funny raiding or whatnot. And this is, oh, this is pretty great for Loki. Tale of Kerberos. If Loki can actually capture it, and that's right now upon count, well, he definitely should be seeing it actually, so I'm kinda confused why he isn't already moving in with Sword Granitier. But well, that's not going to mind. Not going to matter all that much as long as he actually does capture this TC, this relic. This TC though is being captured by Killer Boy more or less because he's right now trying to make sure that it isn't taken by his opponent, and it's kind of interesting to have a look on the map in here. As you see, the purple in the middle, green on the right, blue on the left, and same on the bottom. Oh, well, it's kind of not all that divided, but the top side is really funny, and it really seems like that nobody is all that engaged in the water battle, even though you can see that Chef is having 3 dogs, but he's not really building all that much. Let's have a look at his economy. He's having hand axe, he's not having pickaxe, interesting, but oh, that's a faster heroic right here. Or is it? Could still be just an upgrade for actually pierce damage. Let's see. Still not up, but he should be taking care of that, or rather take notice of that. And this is a very nice raiding by Cloverboy, who is going for it offensively, which is contrary to what you might have believed at the start, as he could have expected a bit of a boom in. And that's kinda really confusing for JSS, because at the same time you can see that Count is going for second TC and not going offensive himself. So yeah, this is actually quite nice mimicry by Deities of Death, and this will be quite surprising to JSS, and maybe could be catching them off guard. But with, of course, the Centaur and Jason being right on spot. Come on, Centaur, roll. That needs to be where you go. And he's also going for armory right off the bat, so that's very interesting. We see the first battle at the top going, well, slightly better for Magic, but at the same time he's yet again unable to basically clear the boats in here. There's some upgrade going for the armory? No, it is just the heroic age from him, and it seems like that actually, Temista will be doing exactly the same. He's also advancing quite fast, having a few idles in here. That's something you see all that often from Temista. And let's check on the other players. You can see that he's not advancing, Magic is not advancing, Killer Boy either. And neither, oh, actually Fox is the only one, and he will be facing 2TC boomed Thor, so that's not going to be all that easy for him. And you can see that already count for count, happy with the 2TCs, is going into the offensive, and exactly at the right time. Oh well, this is pretty sucky for Killer Boy, because he is going to be losing this. He doesn't have enough units, and especially with some extra mythical spawns, this could be all that easier for count, and, or rather, of course not, because he is Thor, Loki is the green player, but looking how he's also switching into raiding cavalry, this is a pretty big problem for Killer Boy, because even though he did raid a bit, maybe disrupted slightly his opponent, not really by much, it's still much more dangerous for him that he is losing the town center and is not going to be finishing with it anytime soon. Fox though is prepared with his heroic age and also the priests, whereas on the water there's literally nothing happening. There hasn't been happening anything for the whole duration of the game. That's why I didn't actually go in here, and it doesn't seem like that anybody is interested in the water battle. Just on the left, Chef is just now losing to Magic, it seems like. Chef is not even building anything in, so he's not interested in the fighting for the water, which will be advantage for Deities of Death, and especially Magic, because of course Eggy can build docks whenever he can, so he will be building a dock about here, and whatnot. And here we see the ceasefire, and what the hell? I would be guessing that he expected ancestors on his economy, and that's the only reason why Temista would actually cast ceasefire, because that would be otherwise terrible mistake. Because he did see these things and he fully expected double ancestors. That would be quite problematic even with double heroes. So yeah, I think that's a reaction to that. I'm actually pretty certain right now. So even though it might have seemed a bit weird, it's quite nice precautionary play. But right now it's going to be quite difficult, because you can see that Killer Boy has stolen a front TC without anyone from JSS noticing, and that's a pretty big problem for them, as they will be on a back foot quite strongly, because already you can see that Fox on the right side with 2 TC as well against Cow is going to be having yet another fight against Deities of Death, or rather against JSS, sorry. So yep, it seems like Count von Count is basically preparing for this. I don't see any lag right now, really. So I'm not exactly sure what could be the problem in here. On the water, not anything happening at all. Yep, it really seems like that everyone is good. Seems like that it might be Fox, but it's kind of questionable. So let's have a look around the map so far. Also at the economy when you have the time. That's Hendak's pickaxe for Killer Boy. Whereas we see for Isis, Fox, also Hendak's pickaxe. And Magic is the last one from Deities of Death to have a look at. And he's already having Boso and Shaft Mine. That's the same thing that we have seen last game. And that's really quite a huge difference in your economy. And it's really helping basically to up your game quite a lot. You can see that's the difference between the extra top players and top players. And that's the difference why Magic is actually usually able to beat the other players that are in the top. So yep, these things make quite a lot of difference. Nothing interesting for Wyvern Bleeder. Areas, Granite Ear. Oh, that's actually the guy that is still alive. Yeah, we have seen it a lot earlier. That's basically the first one that we have seen in here. And that's a bit of a battle and quite unfortunate one for Count von Count, because obviously Killer Boy as Loki is going to be spawning mythical units. And yeah, he right now needs to retreat. And that's a pretty huge threat for him, because Fox is following up quite nicely with the siege in here and the elephants and whatnot, so he's probably going to lose the TC count from Cow, and he needs to do something else reasonably soon. So that's another ceasefire on the left side. Interesting. I would be expecting for the same reason, but I'm not exactly sure what they are actually attempting to do right now. So that's fast Hephaestus at sub 12 minutes, that's super fast. And Mythical Age from Temista right now, so they are hoping that the 2 ceasefires are actually going to be enough for them. But I'm not exactly convinced, because Chef, or rather Count von Count, is in pretty deep trouble. He cannot defend against this at all. He cannot defend against the attack by Green, and also by the Teal, who is basically going to level his front base where all his military buildings are, and it's going to be a pretty big problem for him. Killer Boy already building military right inside his base. Okay, that's also pretty clever, because it will tank quite a lot of damage by the TC, so yeah, that's nicely played, a nice usage of time by Killer Boy. Also see the Balder. And here we go, and is it going to be double ancestors, or at least once? I would definitely think that would be a great idea right about now. Weird that they don't go for it. I'm not exactly sure what they are waiting for, but this is also important to notice. Oh, well, a bit too late, so nicely played by Chef. And a bit too late by Fox, who is right now going for Ancestors into the economy of Count von Count, but it's still going to deal quite a lot of damage, because Count von Count is right now hammered quite decisively. At the top, losing his front TC and his front base, and at the bottom he doesn't have anything. He has just this, and he cannot defend with this at all. So yeah, quite tough to deal with. And even though Killer Boy is coming somehow back, not exactly sure exactly why, but it still means that Iron Magic is going to be losing yet another TC, but he's also at the same time in pretty full offensive on his opponent, already having the big doll right on the doorstep, and is also quite threatening to Chef, because he cannot gather any gold. You can see he has gold in the forefront, whereas the one at the back is not present. There's absolutely no gold, which is basically the feature of Anatolia, and his front push is very dangerous for Chef, as he's basically out of the game without gold, and obviously that's going to be it. And it seems like that this basically all in into the double fast actually triple fast mythic, with all three guys going into fast mythic, is going to backfire. And I would be fully expecting that actually DoD... Oh well, that was nicely played by Count, exactly between those two ancestors. Right now being cast at the top. I think that JSS actually fully expected that deities of death are going to be heavily booming with the double ISIS, but that's not happening, and they have underestimated their opponents. Right now, the push right now by deities of death on both fronts is going to be quite powerful indeed. Yeah, so goodbye Underworld Passage. It didn't do anything at all. It just prevented 4th TC by magic, but yeah, like just akin to nothing. And even though on the left side they will be probably able to defend against magic, especially with taking down his Migdol, still, there is a TC, there is another Migdol, and there are also quite decent mercenaries. Catastrophe still waiting in there, whereas on the right side we see that Count von Count is right now at 3 TCs, and even though he has basically stolen one from his opponent, from his ally Temista, it doesn't really matter all that much, as he was hoping to have as much economy as he can. And he's going with Ragnarok and without any upgrades though. Yeah, he didn't have the time to actually upgrade anything at all, which is quite problematic, as he's right now going to be losing quite a lot of units to Chariot Archers, and especially the TC Fire and Mercenaries. And you can also see there's already 45,000, so I'm kinda guessing that Count von Count is going to be losing absolutely everything in here, especially with the extra towers. So very nice reaction by Fox, and Fox at 4 TCs is going to wreck him. Yeah, this is pretty much a done deal. I don't exactly see how JSS can be coming back from this even with the Mythical Ages, because even though he is having heavy Myrmidons, and at least the basic line of upgrades is probably not going to be enough, as baseline is already in for Killer Boy as well, and they are having huge advantage in town centers, and even though they probably don't have the economy to supply all the production from them, it's still meaning the JSS don't have extra TCs, and they are in a pretty tough situation themselves. So yep, this is it, with actually Blue having absolutely nothing. He doesn't have any kind of upgrades at all, so he's like he wasn't in the game. And this is basically a fight between Temista and Iron Magic, and since Magic is having one extra TC, and Temista is also being raided on the trade route here, and also on the economy, I'm not exactly positive that he can be the strong force that actually JSS are hoping for. So that's another Underworld Passage, pretty much a horrible placement. You don't really place it in front of your opponents, but yeah, JSS are recognizing that this game didn't really go well off for them at all, and Deities of Death plain owned them. They just owned them because, yeah, I'm pretty convinced that JSS thought that their DoD are going to be booming hard, so they boomed themselves, and well, it wasn't really the case in here. So, GG. We'll be heading into game number 3. Let's have a look at the post-game. And Magic, yeah, he owned the left side. He owned the water, he owned absolutely everything on this map. But it was well played by all 3 dots, really. Well played and GG.